sure what it is, but anyway, women need help, okay, because it's all confusing and technical and complicated. Men are strong, and they do machinery and stuff, and they build cars. Women bust up cars, okay? And they have their scars perfectly coiffed when they do so. This is for Liberty Mutual. I have no idea what it is, but look at this is horrendous. Look at this idiotic woman standing there like that. When it comes to technology, I mean, man, you don't really like technology for technology's sake. You really just like technology for sports. You see, you even have to have your football nearby when you're doing your technology. It's all about sports. That's what you care about when it comes to technology. Women, life's complicated enough. Your wireless phone shouldn't be. Can you imagine a man in that commercial? Life's complicated enough. I mean, it's funny, but it's also so maddening, because this is, oh, is that a man in the back? But he's not having a problem. She's having a problem. He's just checking her out, apparently. Okay. Anna's looking for a long-term relationship. This is obviously an old ad. This is zip drives, which I swear some of you might not even know what they are. But when it comes to technology, it's about relationships, right? Anna's looking for a long-term relationship with her zip drive, okay? Okay. Even when people are trying to rectify gender bias and gender inequality, some of you guys might have seen this a few years back, some European commission wanted to try to address the gender gap in going to science STEM fields. And so they developed this promotional ad, okay, to try to encourage girls, just go into science fields. Science, it's a girl thing. Here's the ad they came up with. It was seen as an atrocity, okay? It was taken down. People were like, I have to actually Google this, but you all know this, but it was like a WTAS. Like, I was like, what the heck was this? It was, universally, ridiculed, okay? Because it's absurd that this would be the way to try to appeal to women, let's objectify them, as if this is an MTV video, and make light of them doing science because it's all sexy and cute and stuff like that. Anyway, okay, you get the point. But, kids learn these things, and it's painful. Okay, let's move on. So my point was that we categorize the world. This is a natural thing that we do. We're born to do. It's adaptive in many ways, but of course leads to many inaccurate inferences and negative behaviors. And what allows us to engage in social categorization is that we have to have gathered knowledge about what groups are like in order to categorize them. And we do a lot of this learning through people in our lives, through the culture, broader culture. Let's talk now about stereotype activation and use. This is already presupposing that social categorization occurred and that you've learned stereotype knowledge. And this is, of course, really maybe less interesting, but really the heart of what we were talking about in the first unit of the course, only now we're talking specifically not just about any schema, but stereotypes of schema. So I won't belabor this point on this slide. I'm going to belabor it in the next 4 slides, but stereotypes, right, like any schema, they influence us, right? Activated, like when you activate your stereotype about jocks, about Stanford students, about Cal students, they influence your attention and memory, okay? They influence your interpretations of ambiguous information, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, we know all these effects of schemas already. You hear somebody's a Stanford student, you interpret an ambiguously arrogant remark as arrogant, because now you have a stereotype about Stanford students activated in your mind, okay? I'm not going to give you a million examples of this, but what I want to pose to you is the following question, which we've hinted at a little bit already, which is that I hope it's clear at this point that we all have so much stereotype knowledge stored up in your memory, these ready-to-go schemas. And we know from the first unit of the course that there are cues out there in the world, many of which we may not be aware of because there's so much information going on out there, okay? These cues out there that we're being exposed to that could activate the stereotype knowledge. Girls are good at math, okay? And we know what happens when schemas get activated. If they're available and they're activated and they're somewhat applicable to some sort of judgment context, they could influence our judgments of this person without us even knowing it. So this raises kind of the uncomfortable question, which Trish Devine, a social psychologist, thought about for her dissertation back in the late 1980s. If stereotype activation and use are a source of prejudice, and most of us, not most of us, all of us really, possess stereotype knowledge, doesn't that mean that if you activate someone's stereotype in some way, even subliminally, unconsciously, that prejudice is inevitable? That we're all going to be prone to show prejudice, judgments, and remarks, and behaviors, and views, and all these sorts of things, at least at some time points in our lives, or a lot of times, since there's a lot of cues out there, we just look at all these advertisements that suggest stereotypes about gender, and we're being exposed to these things all the time. Trish Devine, in her dissertation, she's still an active social psychologist, this was a highly influential paper, she challenged this idea that prejudice is inevitable. Because what she wanted to argue, which is what I was trying to draw out earlier when distinguishing stereotype from prejudice, which is that having knowledge about a particular stereotype, about a particular group, doesn't mean you endorse that knowledge. It doesn't have to mean you're prejudiced against that group. Even if I know the nastiest things, nastiest beliefs, I pick them up about a certain group, it doesn't have to mean that I'm a prejudice against that group, but I don't necessarily endorse those nasty beliefs and show prejudice. Her argument was one we are quite familiar with nowadays, but was quite novel back then. The idea is that stereotype knowledge, take gender stereotype knowledge, has a very long cognitive history. What I mean by that is we have been exposed to and have thought about gender stereotypes for a long, long, long time. And we know that the more you thought about something, the more accessible it is. The more accessible it is, the more likely it's going to influence your judgments and interpretations. So gender stereotypes and all sorts of other kinds of stereotype knowledge have a long cognitive history. So stereotype activation is likely to be automatic. It doesn't take much to set them off. And that's going to lead to stereotyping and prejudice. However, that doesn't mean that people can't develop non-prejudice beliefs and store them away in memory as well. The only catch is that typically these beliefs are, because they're not the norm, stereotypes are the cultural knowledge about a certain group, but you yourself can still develop non-prejudice beliefs, store them away. But because in general they tend to be newer, have been less practiced, less activated, it takes effort on control processing to inhibit that automatic stereotype activation, push that down, inhibit that activation, and activate your non-prejudice beliefs instead. Okay, in the same way, if you really wanted to change from being right-handed to left-handed, maybe it makes more sense. Let's say you're left-handed, okay, and it just causes you so much grief in life, and you want to be right-handed, okay? Yeah, left-handed, the left hand is what would automatically reach out to grab that pencil. It is your default long writing response. It has a long history, long behavioral history. But you could practice with the right hand, And over time, with greater practice and with a lot of sweat and effort, controlled processing, you could have the right hand win out over the left hand. But it's going to take some practice. It's going to take some sweat. It's going to take effort. In the case of stereotypes, it's going to take cognitive effort. Inhibit the old but powerful stuff and activate instead the new stuff. Okay, how does she test these ideas? Where are we at in time? Okay. Here's another way to think about her model, which is really basic nowadays, again, was not at the time. You can think about this, her way of thinking in terms of high and low prejudice people. High and low prejudice people are similar. They've both got stereotype knowledge, just like we all do in this room. But low prejudice people, these are the people who have developed or learned non-prejudice beliefs. So when controlled processing is possible, you'll get the low prejudice people not showing their stereotyping prejudice. But when it's not possible, all groups are going to show stereotyping. You with me? Low and high prejudice people aren't going to look different when the circumstances don't allow for controlled processing. But if you give those low prejudice people a shot, arm them with cognitive resources, the ability to use their cognitive resources, they will, because they want to, inhibit, they're motivated and have the ability, they will inhibit the stereotype beliefs and instead bring to the fore their non-stereotype beliefs. Okay, how did she test these ideas? Well, I should say, I'm going to put this online so let's not scramble to write this. I will say that in all three studies I'm going to tell you about, probably just the first two today, she identified people that she labeled as high and low prejudice. And she did that by having all participants, I should also say in all of her studies, she looked at the African-American stereotypes about blacks. Okay? She recruited all non-black participants. And she had them all fill out what is known as the modern racism scale. It's described in your textbook. The modern racism scale was formulated under the assumption that in this day and age, it's no longer widely acceptable to express overtly negative attitudes toward blacks. Okay? It's just not politically correct. But that doesn't mean prejudice no longer exists against blacks. People just find ways to express it in more socially acceptable ways. This scale was developed to have items that people could endorse in a way, the items were socially acceptable ones to endorse, but were nonetheless negative about toward blacks. So an example item would be, discrimination against blacks is no longer a problem in the United States. This is not a, blacks are bad kind of statement which you could not endorse these days. But you could endorse this item and it not be socially inappropriate, socially, politically unacceptable. And yet endorsing this item is nonetheless anti-black. So low prejudice people are those who did not endorse these items, did not make anti-black ratings, whereas high prejudice people tended to make ratings on these kind of indirect items to assess black prejudice. They tended to endorse these kinds of anti-black items. Okay? So you've got high and low prejudice people responding in these different ways to the modern racism scale. Study one. Like, this is so utterly straightforward in study one. She wanted to first establish support for something we all know to be true, and she knew to be true, which is that you got your high and low prejudice folks, but you know what? They may be different in their desire to be, differentially prejudiced, but they all have the same exact stereotype content. Everybody has knowledge of the cultural stereotype of blacks. Participants in the study were asked to describe the black cultural stereotype regardless of their personal beliefs. We don't care what you actually endorse and believe, just mentally dump what you know about blacks based on what you learn in the culture. Key result, first of all, the most common theme across high and low prejudice participants' responses was that blacks were associated with hostility. This is something true that other researchers have found as well. But critically, what she found was that there were very few differences between high and low prejudice folks. Okay? Everyone, okay, in the case here of black stereotypes, everyone can have knowledge of cultural stereotype, even if they are different in levels of prejudice. High prejudice and low prejudice folks, similar knowledge about the cultural stereotype of blacks. Study two. Okay, step one of her model. Study two. Don't write this, you're just going to get it off the slides that I'll post right after lecture. Study two, this is also described in the textbook. Study two. She brings her high and low prejudice folks into the lab again. She tells them they're going to engage in two ostensibly unrelated tasks. Unbeknownst to the participants in the first task, they're doing some sort of judgment task on a computer, but unbeknownst to them, they're being subliminally, without being able to notice this is happening beyond the threshold of conscious awareness, being primed with stereotype words or not. Okay, words like slavery, okay, jazz, words that are supposed to connote the black cultural stereotype or not. Okay, you get exposed to these words or not. In other words, you get the black stereotype activated or not. Task two, they get exposed to this person, this vignette about this guy named Donald, who is engaging in a variety of different behaviors that are ambiguously hostile. Okay, Donald is kind of poking this guy, he's in class, he's poking this guy in front of him with his pencil. Is that hostile or is that all good fun? Well, guess what? All participants rated Donald as more hostile when primed with stereotype words, because remember, she learned from study one that people associate hostility with the black stereotype. But the critical finding is that's to be expected. We know that. From everything we know about schemas, you activate a stereotype, and people make stereotype-consistent inferences. They start interpreting ambiguous information in line with the stereotype. Donald's being hostile. But critically here is that this happened among both high and low prejudice folks. Even low prejudice folks who don't believe in it, who want to be non-prejudiced, who hold non-prejudiced beliefs, you activate the black stereotype subliminally, you didn't give them a chance to exert control processing, and they show automatic stereotyping. Last study. So, does this mean all people are prejudiced? No, because in study one, she encouraged participants not to inhibit anything, just mentally dump your cultural stereotype knowledge about blacks. In study two, she didn't give a chance to participants who would want to inhibit their prejudice. She didn't give them a chance. It was subliminal. They didn't even know what was happening to them. Okay, it does mean that even low prejudice people can get influenced. So in study three, my last slide today, in study three, she once again brought in groups of high and low prejudice folks, and she asked them to list their thoughts, this time your personal thoughts about blacks. Okay? And by the way, they're going to be anonymous. Your name is not going to be associated with that, and I'll say why that's important. Key result here is that high prejudice people listed more negative beliefs, consistent with their high prejudice. Low prejudice people consistent with their low prejudice beliefs listed mostly positive beliefs, negating the negative stereotype. So when you give them a shot to be non-prejudiced, they will be. Okay, when they're able to exert control processing, they will show their non-prejudiced nature. And you can't even argue that it's just because low prejudice people want to look politically correct, because they were told their responses were anonymous. It's not like they were going to get any kudos for being non-prejudiced. They're truly expressing their anonymous beliefs that, those anonymously positive beliefs about blacks. Okay? Okay, we'll tie up divine studies, which you should read about to be enforced in the textbook. And please enjoy Thanksgiving, but use it as an opportunity to catch up on reading as well. Okay, see you when we get back.